Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a massive invisible brick wall, the one you hit when you're trying to get things done. If you've ever found yourself totally paralyzed by a task, you definitely aren't alone. Today, we are unpacking the actual counterintuitive biology behind why we put things off. So picture this, it's 5 p.m. You've just realized that a major report you've been putting off is due tomorrow. You tell yourself, all right, time to buckle down. You open your laptop, you sit at your desk, and suddenly you're scrolling on your phone. Or maybe you're deep down a YouTube rabbit hole. Actually, scratch that. You tell yourself you should probably make dinner first, right? You usually love cooking, but today it's just miserable because you've got this huge dark cloud of work hanging over your head. And before you know it, oh wow, it's late. Maybe you should just try again in the morning. We know this cycle so well. It is the classic cycle of procrastination. I can guarantee that every single one of us has been caught in this loop. But it begs a massive question, one we really need to answer today. Why on earth do we keep procrastinating when we know for a fact that it's terrible for us? It is completely, totally irrational to do something you know is going to actively harm you in the long run. So why do we do it?
To figure that out, let's start with Section 1, the procrastination cycle.
Now, right off the bat, we need to clear something up. Putting things off isn't always procrastination. There is a huge difference between this and just responsible time management. Look, responsible time management is calmly deciding, okay, this task is important, but that one can wait. Procrastination, though, that's when we actively avoid a task we explicitly promised we'd do for literally no good reason, fully knowing it's going to blow up in our faces later. Like I said, it is completely irrational behavior.
Since logic clearly isn't steering the ship here, we need to look at Section 2, your brain on deadlines. This is where it gets wild. Procrastination isn't a glitch in your system, it's actually your body trying to protect you. When you realize you have to write that report, your brain reacts exactly like it would to a physical threat. Your amygdala, that little emotional processing center in your brain, flags the task as a danger. Boom. It immediately dumps hormones like adrenaline into your system, kicking off a full-blown fear response. And this stress panic is so strong that it completely overpowers your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, long-term thinking part of your brain. It just gets hijacked. So right in the middle of this primal fight, flight, or freeze response, your brain decides the best way to survive the threat is to just run away from it and do something less stressful. I mean, think about how absurd our biology is. Your body is reacting with a literal fight or flight response, even though it's just a deadline. It's not a bear attack. You are not in any actual physical danger. But your brain treats feelings of dread or incompetence or insecurity like your life is legitimately on the line. There was this fascinating university study that really hit the nail on the head regarding this emotional dread. Researchers pinged students throughout the day to ask about their stress levels regarding studying. And the results were super interesting. When the students were actively studying, they reported that their stress was pretty low. Really wasn't that bad. But when they were procrastinating, they rated the mere idea of studying as incredibly stressful. Your brain literally inflates how difficult a task is the longer you avoid it, which obviously makes it harder and harder to just start. Which brings us to Section 3, the perfectionist's trap. Okay, we need to bust a huge myth right now. Procrastinators are not lazy. They are fundamentally different biological states. Laziness is when you have zero energy, a general sense of apathy, and you're perfectly happy just sitting around doing nothing. But procrastinators, they almost never do nothing. They're actively busy distracting themselves with completely unimportant things. And why is that? It's because they actually care too much. Procrastination is driven by a massive fear of failure. People put things off because they're terrified their work won't live up to their own impossibly high standards. It is entirely rooted in insecurity and dread, not apathy. And man, the toll this takes on a person is heavy, because some folks struggle to regulate those intense negative emotions, or they deal with low self-esteem. They just get stuck in this trap over and over again. We're talking about severe mental and physical health consequences, chronic anxiety, depression, this deep ongoing feeling of shame, perpetually high stress levels, and all the very real, literal physical ailments that happen when you carry that much stress around every single day. But here is the ultimate, cruelest trick our biology plays on us, the thing that locks this whole behavior in. Dodging the task actually works, well, temporarily. Sure, procrastination destroys us in the long run, But in that exact moment you avoid the task, your immediate stress level drops. And biologically, your brain rewards that. It reinforces procrastination as a totally successful coping mechanism. Your brain literally goes, "Hey, we ran away from the bear and now we're safe. Great job." Okay, so how do we actually rewrite this biological loop? Let's get into section 4, breaking the cycle. Understanding the biology here completely flips the script on how we get things done. For the longest time, the advice was just cultivate strict discipline, use rigid time management, whip yourself into shape. But modern science says that is completely backwards. Remember, procrastination is a fear response. If you beat yourself up about it, you are literally just layering more negative emotions onto the task, making the perceived threat even bigger. To short-circuit this panic, you don't need a stricter calendar. You need to address your negative emotions.
So here is what you actually do, straight from the science. First, chop the task into tiny, bite-sized pieces. A tiny task doesn't freak out your amygdala the way a massive project does. Second, try journaling about why it's stressing you out. Just face those emotional concerns head-on. Third, make it hard to escape by removing impulsive distractions from your workspace. And fourth, and honestly this is absolutely crucial, practice self-compassion. Forgive yourself for putting it off. Drop the shame, make a plan, and just try again.
If we can just stop shaming ourselves and each other for what is basically a biological fear response, we can completely rethink our relationship with productivity. A culture that just pushes endless stress and rigid discipline hurts every single one of us in the long run. When we understand the biology, we can build a much healthier culture, one that treats the root cause of our delays instead of just punishing the symptom. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to ponder today. If procrastination isn't actually a time management problem, but an emotion management problem, what negative emotion are you avoiding right now?